Hey happy gardeners, thanks for joining me again for another episode of the Hawaii Urban Gardener. Today we're going to show you how to do self-watering buckets for those who insist on using dirt. This is perfect for the person that's busy with work, or even if you're self-admitted to being lazy and you don't water your plants all the time and you just don't have time for it. This is the perfect bucket and pot for you, where you'll have healthy plants all the time and it's very low maintenance and you don't have to water it that much. I'm going to show you how to make one, and it's also perfect if you're not a lazy gardener and you actually want to go on vacation, a short vacation, maybe a week tops, and you could probably get away with even 2 weeks. It depends how hot it is outside, but it's the perfect watering system if you're the type that is always away from home, or even if you live in a hot environment and it's just so hot that you're worried about your plants at work during the afternoon. You don't have to worry about them wilting when you come back home because they'll be fine. So let's get to it. All right, let's get to making our self-watering bucket. What you're going to need is tubing, a PVC pipe. You can get these pre-cut like this. It's about 3 feet at Lowe's or Home Depot. I find Home Depot to be cheaper. They have different sizes, you know, with a gauge, but you can get the cheapest one as long as water can go through it. If you're impatient and you want your water to flow down quickly, you can spend more money and get the wider gauge, but this is a 1/2 inch pipe, so it's fine with me because you're not going to be filling it very often. You're going to get a lid for your bucket. I got a Lowe's bucket. You can use a Home Depot bucket too. I've used that. And just don't forget the lid that goes with it. You're going to need something to put your lid on the bottom, which I'll show you later. The bigger it is, the more water surplus you're going to have on the bottom. So you can use soda cans, put a bunch of them down there. But remember, the more things you put in there, the less water it's going to take up your water space. So you can use old pots. I don't have any right now because I used them all, but I'm using an old Ziploc Tupperware. I think this is a 56 ounce, so it's like 7 cups, just old, and something flat so you can put it down like this. Need a Sharpie pen if you're not into cutting things or doing things with tools too much, just to mark. And an oscillating tool. This is what I have, but you don't need this. You can use sharp knives or scissors as long as they're sharp, and you're going to cut around this lid. These lids aren't too thick. You can even use a steak knife. I've used a steak knife before. I've owned this tool, but the tool makes it so much easier. You can use a Dremel even if you have a Dremel to cut. But I always stress safety. Be sure to use gloves that are thick, so especially if you're using a steak knife so you don't cut yourself. Using a steak knife will take longer, but it does get the job done. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. It can be ugly looking. Nobody's going to look at it as long as it supports your dirt. The pen is for if you're not confident in marking, you can mark around where you're going to cut. But I noticed with the Lowe's lids, as long as you cut after this lip, show you a close-up, but you see this lip here, just cut around right here where it starts to get lower. You're fine right along the edge. But if you're not confident, you can mark it with a pen. I know you couldn't see that, but that literally took probably 30 seconds to do with that oscillating tool. And there it is. So you can use this around the house for other things too, to cut, and it's got different gadgets that come with it, the bits, so you can do different things with it, including sanding things. So you're going to take it out, and the ring is in here. I suggest cutting it even when you have the knife with the lid on the bucket, so it stabilizes it, so that way you don't cut yourself. And you're going to have a bunch of dust in here, so I'm going to throw it out. If you are sensitive to dust, it does make a fine dust with this plastic, so you can use a mask. Just a regular mask that you use for, I guess, COVID would be fine. If you're not wanting it to breathe it in. It doesn't really bother me, so I'm okay. So now you can see this fits into the bucket. It probably won't go all the way down as much as you would like, so you might have to cut it with the scissors just to get it down to where you're going to put whatever it is you're going to fill on the bottom. So this is how it works. You're going to put this in the bucket like so, and then the lid is going to go over it. So see how it doesn't go all the way down? So I might have to trim on the sides just to get it down there. And you want it flat against whatever object you put, cans or the pots or whatnot. And underneath is what the water is going to fill up. But before we do that, I'm going to drill a hole in here. Same thing, if you don't have a drill, just cut and use a Sharpie pen, and you're going to measure your pipe, and that's going to go through. So here's my cut lid, and for those who aren't too comfortable on what to do, if this is your first time doing it or you don't really do things like this, it's super easy. Just get a Sharpie and you're going to mark around it, and that's what you're going to cut. Whether you use a knife or scissors, I find an easy way is to just slice or get a knife through here, and then you can put your scissors and cut around it if you're not too confident with just using a knife. I have a special drill bit. You can get one of these. This is up to 1 1 3/8, so each notch is, you can see, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So this is obviously a 1.5 inch pipe, so it's going to go up to here. Okay, so I drilled my 1/2 inch hole for the 1/2 inch gauge pipe, and obviously goes through perfectly. If there's a little bit of wiggle, that's fine, don't worry about it, but you don't want too much of a gap. It can look a little bit of ugly. It's not doesn't have to be perfect. It's just that you don't want the soil to drop in there because you're going to waste your soil, and it's going to fit in like so. And I still got to fix this, but I'll show you the end result later. But this is going to be the pipe that you're going to put into your water reservoir on the bottom. So let me fix this up a little bit so that it fits nicely, and I'll get back to you. All right, now we're going to drill a bunch of holes. It doesn't matter where, but just a couple around here. And the reason is, if you don't drill holes, the water has no displacement to go anywhere, and in case your reservoir is full, it might float up, and you don't want that. So we'll do that. All right, finished drilling holes. There's no rhyme or reason or actual thing on where to put the holes. Just put a couple on the top in case, you know, it fills up, and some on the sides. That way the water will come through, and it'll give more room for the water as well when you fill up your self-watering pot. So I tend to put most of my whatever I'm going to use to keep the lid on over here on one side, because you need room for your pipe to fit. If you have it in the way, obviously it's not going to go all the way down. Another thing I didn't show you, just to save time, but you can probably get it on your own obviously, is drill a bunch of holes in your bucket lid. This is going to let the moisture from your reservoir come up, and the roots to also go down and drink water once the plant gets older. You're going to drill a bigger hole in here. Same thing, if you don't have a drill bit that's this big, you can cut a hole. It doesn't have to be perfect. The reason being is we're going to use an old rag for a wick. You're going to put this rag in, so you just want the hole to be big enough to pull it through. All right, so this is the wick you're just going to put. So the bottom is going to soak into the water. That way it wicks up the water up into the soil that you're going to be putting it in. Also, I have a tip. You should always drill the big hole for the pipe first. You can probably do this all at once while the lid is on top here, so you have more support. But the reason to do this is when you're fitting it in here to get it flush, and you don't have this hole, and it's stuck, you have no way to get it out. So this way you can hook your finger out and pull it out until you figure out that you got it flush. It doesn't have to be perfectly flush. Get it down there. There it is. Now it's secure, and it won't fall through once we put the dirt in. And that hole is for the pipe. We'll put that in, and there we go. That's what it should look like. The pipe is in there, You're going to fill water through up here, and it's going to go down into our reservoir. This is going to wick up moisture from the reservoir and get the dirt wet, and the holes, like I said, are for the roots to find their way down there. Also, I'm not sure if you can see that I marked a mark down there. With the Home Depot buckets or a bucket that's a little bit clearer, you can see in the sunlight where your lid is. I can see it with this dark bucket. It probably won't catch on camera, but you want your hole just below where the lid ends. And the reason being is if it rains or, you know, you overwater while you're filling up your reservoir, you know it's full because the water will come out right where the lid is. And you won't have to worry about the rain overflowing your plants and killing them. Another thing I want to mention, so you don't do the mistake I did, make sure this handle is on the right side. So say if you end up putting your pipe here, you wouldn't be able to move your bucket around because the pipe would be in the way if you put it right here. So make sure you do that before you put the soil in. All right, I filled up my bucket here with some potting mix. If you're wondering, just to keep this video short, I'll do it in another video to show how to kind of prepare your potting mix. I don't just put potting mix, I put about 2 small handfuls of bone meal. You can get this at any hardware store or garden center. Also 2 small hand scoops of blood meal and 1 hand scoop of worm castings. I also put a little bit of chicken manure in here, 1 just small, you know, scoop with your hand. No need to measure, but don't put too much, just 1 scoop's good enough. I put it in another pot and mixed everything together, and then I put it in here. This gives pretty good nutrients to give the plant a good start. If you're wondering what bone meal is, it's just crushed bone. If you're vegan, you might not want to use this. You can use lime or something else, grounded up lime. Limestone, I believe, not like fruit lime. They also sell that at the garden center, but bone meal gives the plants calcium and phosphate and potassium. And blood meal gives your plants a lot of nitrogen to give it a good boost. And I think, you know, this is also not vegan, so if you're into vegan gardening, you might have to find a different type of nitrogen, which can come from the worm castings as well. It gives it good micronutrients, and the manure also gives good nitrogen to the soil. So we're going to be planting. I wasn't sure what I wanted to plant because I have a couple of seedlings, but I'm just going to go with the oldest one that I have in the seedling tray that I haven't planted yet. Actually, let me get rid of this. This one's a little cherry tomato. Hopefully I can show that to you later. This is a Bosque Blue tomato, if you're wondering. I was gonna either plant this or the Korean pepper, but let's do the pepper. So just gonna get your seedling out. If you're buying a bigger plant from the hardware store or garden center of your choice, that's fine too. You can have a bigger plant, doesn't matter. You're just gonna use, you know, 2 or 3 fingers and just dig a little hole in the middle, like so, and put your plant seedling in there and just push it down. You don't have to push the soil too hard down here. Don't want it too compact. You want a little bit of air, but at the same time you don't want it to be too loose where you water it and everything sinks down. Then you would have to add more soil again. So like I said, this is a Korean green pepper, which is the same type of peppers that you would use to make kimchi when they grind it up when it turns red. We'll see how this does, and that's pretty much what you do a self-watering bucket. I'll show you how to fill up the reservoir. If you have one of these garden sprayers that has a jet setting that just streams right into a small space, you can use that. Just put the little nozzle right in there, and you're going to fill up your reservoir. Just don't do just what I did and do it too hard because the pipe's too small. You want just enough airflow so it fills it up. Another way to fill it up, if you don't have one of these and you just have a regular garden hose, you can use a little funnel. I got these cheap. They came in 3s and it was like $5 or $3 or something off Amazon. Or you just can have one, and I actually just use one out of the pack, and I just move it along when I need to water, because you don't water often with a self-watering bucket. Just fill your funnel and it goes down the funnel. And the way that I showed you how it, it's full, I'll show you how you can tell through the hole that you drilled on the side of the bucket. And there you can see the water's coming out, and you know that your reservoir is full. Also, because it's a transplant, you don't want to stress out your plants. I don't water it regularly, obviously, because this is a self-watering bucket. But for the first time, when you transplant a seedling or any other plant, you don't want to stress it out. So I just give it a light, misting of water, so that way it doesn't get shocked and dies. And if you're wondering, I put the lid back on that I cut off, just so we don't throw away stuff and fill our landfill. You can just click it back on, and that way it'll just stay with the bucket if you're not into throwing it away. If you want to throw it away, you can. But that's pretty much a self-watering bucket. In another video, I'll go and show you how this plant is doing. But let me take you along and show you how other plants are doing that I have done the same thing with. So I moved my Korean pepper over here, but this is another self-watering bucket I've done. This is my Korean melon. It's been in here probably since, I believe, maybe February, and I've probably only watered it a couple times. So this is perfect for those who are busy or lazy, whatever. So you can see the top is dry. I'm gonna add mulch to my peppers later after this video, but same thing. I put this is a Home Depot bucket, put the lid back on top so we're not throwing away stuff. But yeah, it's been in here and still green and good. And over here we've got some sweet peppers, and it's doing well. This was my first watering bucket I ever did. And it's been since, I think I planted it in January, and it had some sweet peppers, and I guess it's taking a break. Still healthy and green, but no flowers after that harvest. Out in my front yard, I've got another watering bucket. So I've only got 3. It takes some time to make, but they are well worth it. Here is a moneymaker tomato. Got some tomatoes coming in, more flowers over here, and little tomatoes there. But doing healthy. Look at the stem, very, very thick. I could have put more dirt in here. It kind of sank down, but still doing well. And I put this in about last month, and it shot up really tall. It's big, and I probably watered it twice. So low maintenance, still get plants and vegetables. And as a bonus, I'm supposed to be harvesting 2 things today. This is the cabbage that I grew. Not as big, of course, from the store, but not too bad considering it's in a 5-gallon bucket. And then I'm going to do this Wonbach here. It got kind of old on the leaves because I kept putting it off, but I should have harvested it last week. But it's pretty big, and I'll show you what it looks like. So here's my little cabbage. It's really hard and ready to go. And it's great to see that we can grow cabbage here in Hawaii. It's just a springtime vegetable, so I'm harvesting it before summer comes along with the heat. And it was successful, and you can do it in a 5-gallon bucket with just potting soil. I think I'm going to do more of these because we always eat cabbage. And here's my Wonbach, pretty big. Look at my head. Pretty solid in there too. So when you harvest any cabbage, you just got to make sure it's firm on the inside. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. We'll make some kimchi out of this and eat some other dishes with our head of regular cabbage. So hopefully this video helped you on how to build a self-watering bucket. By no means did I ever invent this or anything like that. There are tons of videos out there on how to make it. Just do your own research. This has been out for a while. You can do other methods that other people use. Sometimes they use netted pots and put like rock wool or something else that soaks up the water to wick it up to the soil. But I figured the rag or any old t-shirt, as long as it soaks up water well, is something you could find around the house. Anybody has it, and you don't have to go out and buy different things other than the bucket and the pipe. So thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching. And if you found this helpful, press the like button and I'll see you again next week.